Assalamu alaikum students, this is your course instructor Rao Aisha Sadiq from Department of English, University of Southern Punjab, Multan. In our today's fourth lecture, we will discuss themes of cracking India. Cracking India, Bapsi Sidhwa's profound novel, also known as Cracking India, we will delve into the core themes that weave through the powerful narrative offering insight into the human experience of the 1947 partition of India. We will also explore how personal stories illuminate the broader historical context, highlighting the novel's enduring relevance in understanding identity, trauma, and reconciliation in divided societies. So the theme of cracking, the very title Cracking India, serves as a potent metaphor for the tumultuous events of the 1947. It symbolizes the literal and metaphorical fracturing of subcontinent leading to the creation of India and Pakistan. Through increasingly aware eyes of young Leni, the novel portrays through her perspective the countries physically cracking with fissures appearing across the land, reflecting the deep and violent division that tore apart communities, friendships, and families overnight. This cracking isn't just a geographical, it represents the shattering of social fabric, trust, and shared histories, friendship leading into a irreversible fragmentation of identity and belonging for millions. The communal tension and the religious divide from friends to foes, most heartbreaking aspect of the division of India, the former friends and neighbors into bitter enemies. The novel starkly illustrates how the communal tension previously simmering beneath the surface crumbled into open conflict. Suddenly the shared spaces become spaces of contest. Hindus, Muslims, and Sikh communities turn on each other with brutal forces, fracturing society. Sidhwa meticulously portrays how religious identity, once a thread in the rich tapestry of Indian society, becomes a primary determinant of allegiances and hostilities. This fracturing leads to a widespread violence, mistrust, and almost incomprehensible breakdown of human empathy. The lines drawn on the map translated into deep, bloody gashes within the social fabric, leaving the cost to be bear by the people. The trauma, the novel masterfully demonstrates how the individual trauma rapidly escalates into widespread societal suffering, creating a vicious cycle of violence and hatred among the characters. They have to feel the grief and anger. His reaction to the horrific massacre of Muslim civilians, particularly the train of dead bodies, is a visceral representation of how individual shock and bereavement can fuel a desire of revenge. This personal anguish then spirals outward, contributing to the broader communal violence. Sidhwa shows how these individual humans started to feel the trauma, and the feelings of revenge are aggravated. The memories of these atrocities are passed down, creating intergenerational scars and fueling cycles of hatred that echo long after the physical violence. The psychological impact of partition on both individual and the entire society, and the dark side of sexuality and patriarchy. It's another important aspect of the novel. Patriarchy and violence during the partition. Leni's gradual awakening to adult sexualities portrayal and inextricably linked with the exploitation and brutal abuse of women. The novel reflects how the times of conflict, women bodies often became battleground, and sexual violence is really as a horrific weapon. Patriarchal control is vividly depicted through various horrifying examples. The forced marriages of Papo, Leni's cousin, drugged and manipulated into union against her will, highlights the absolute lack of agency women had over all their lives. More broadly, the widespread use of rape and sexual assault during partition is presented not just a random act of brutality, but a systematic violence against women. This theme exposes the profound vulnerability of women in a society collapsing under the weight of communal hatred, where their horror and bodies become symbol to be violated in the name of religious and nationalistic fervor. Then we see the loss of innocence in the childhood. Leni's character serves as emotional compass to see the character, the themes of the text. She filled with the carefree curiosity of a privileged child in a stark contrast of unfolding brutal realities of partition. Leni's physical vulnerability due to polio ironically highlights an initial emotional and intellectual shielding from the harsh adult world. Her vivid imagination and innocent observation provide a poignant line through which the reader witnesses a gradual erosion of peace and humanity. As the communal violence intensifies, Leni's childlike innocence is slowly but irrevocably shattered. Her gradual gradual understanding of the complexities of adult betrayals, hatred, and suffering mirrors the complete loss of innocence in a country torn apart. The novel illustrate how historical events and the horrors create the havoc even within the child. The role of women and their suffering and experiences deeply disturbing are the central theme of Cracking India. During the communal violence of partition, women became vulnerable and bore the brunt of unimaginable atrocities. The novel vividly portrays the widespread abduction, rape, and forced prostitution that afflicted countless women across the communities. These acts were not merely collateral damage to often deliberate strategies of humiliation and ethnic cleansing. Aya's tragic fate is perhaps the most harrowing illustration the gendered impact on partition's horror. As Lenny's beloved nanny, Aya embodies grace and beauty. Her abduction and subsequent forced prostitution is a refugee camp strikingly highlight the systematic violence against women. Her story serves as a devastating symbol of the loss of dignity, agency, and humanity endured by the thousands of women. Sidhwa shows the suffering of women is not regulated, they are imposed on them. She acknowledges their sacrifices and religions amidst unspeakable trauma. Then we see the identity and the belonging. A profound consequence of partition explored the Cracking India is crisis of identity and belonging. As religious and national lines are brutally hardened, characters are forced to confronting shifting allegiances and question their fundamental sense of self. Individuals who once coexisted peacefully find their identities suddenly reduced to a single religious label: Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, often all expense of their broader cultural or individual self. The novel explored the painful dilemma forced by many who do belong to their homeland and carved into two. The families are displaced and the communities fragmented, and long-held loyalties were challenged. This theme resonates deeply with the human need for belonging and security, demonstrating how political upheaval can dismantle personal worlds and leave individuals drift, struggling to redefine who they are and how they can safely feel. The impact of colonialism and political change and power vacuum abrupt the ill-managed withdrawal of British colonial power presented a central catalyst for the escalating communal tensions. It depicted the challenges of self-governance and communal harmony without adequate transition or preparation, the devastation of ordinary lives. Cracking India served as a poignant commentary on how high-level political decisions made in distant chamber can have devastating and irreversible consequences for ordinary lives on the ground. The arbitrary drawing of borders and the imposition of two-nation theory led directly to widespread displacement, violence, and unimaginable suffering for millions. Colonial legacy subtly highlights the lasting legacy of colonialism, where existing divisions were often exacerbated by divide and rule policies, ultimately culminating in that tragic partition. It underscored the responsibility of colonial powers in shaping the historical landscape and its subsequent human cost. Cracking India's enduring lessons stand as a monumental work of literature, revealing the profound human cost of partition through the tapestry of intimate stories of love, loss, and survival. Sidhwa portrays the major political events, how they reshape individual destinies and identities of a nation, escalation of communal tension, the pervasive trauma, the exploitation of women, the loss of innocence, and the crisis of identity born from colonialism and aftermath of partition. More importantly, the novel offers enduring lesson on the fragility of peace, the importance of empathy, and the artist's journey towards reconciliation in divided societies, making it a message powerfully relevant even today. We have some symbols that are that must be dealt, that are the Lenny's dream, which are not childish fantasies, but they are the conscious grappling of terrifying realities of the partition, unable to fully comprehend the adult world's violence. Her mind processes these horrors to a symbolic dreams. Her dreams starkly illustrate the brutal collision between her innocent childhood perspective and the harsh, violent adult reality unfolding around her. The dichotomy highlights the unique tragedy of a child witnessing such widespread devastation. If we see the foreshadowing her dreams, the fractured home, shadowy figures, and dismembered bodies, they are not just numbered, they are deeply symbolic. They foreshadow that the deep psychological trauma inhabited by her. These dream sequences offer crucial insight into Lenny's internal world, allowing the reader to feel the confusion, fear, and ultimate loss of innocence that defined her journey through the partition. They are not just narrative devices, but psychological portrait of a child in distress. A major symbol is a lion. Throughout the novel, Lenny is frightened of the lion at the zoo. She has dreamed that the rival will get loose night and eat her in the bed. He describes the insistent roar of the zoo lion. The lion is a symbol of Lenny's anxiety. She dreams of it most when her mother and father are fighting or when she's worried what will happen to India. Her fear of lion shows her state of mind. I awake every morning to the lion's roar. He sets about it and cracked the down, belighting my dream. Salvation. Then another major theme is the dream, the Salvation Army. It's also a symbol. Lenny described it as a red and white caterpillar. Later in her nightmare and marching band metamorphoses into a single German soldier into a motorcycle. Her chase after Lenny with his black gloves and white hand. In this way, the Salvation Army symbolizes both British rule and Indian violence and the brutality that would occur as the British divide the country. Lenny describes this dream as the worst nightmare that connects me to the pain of others. Then we have a potent symbol, that's Aya's sari. In Cracking India, the character of Aya and her sari transcend mere attire. The garment becomes a central and a powerful symbol, subtly yet effectively mirroring the fractured identity of India itself as it grapples with the traumatic events of partition. Crucially, the numerous folds and intricate drapes of her sari serve as a metaphor for her own layered experience. They conceal and reveal her unwavering loyalty and Lenny and her family and her profound vulnerability in a rapidly changing world and her remarkable resilience in the face of escalating personal and national crisis. The intricate plaits and drapes of the sari traditionally symbolize India's vast diversity of multitude of cultures, languages, and community, while simultaneously representing their profound interconnectedness and unity. At the impending partition literally cracks the nation along religious lines, Aya's meticulously arranged sari folds begin to unravel metaphorically. The unraveling reflects the escalating social and political disintegration that grips India. The sari's inherent design, signifying traditional unity and harmony, stand in a stark contrast to the escalating tension, sectarian violence, and profound suffering. So, Cracking India masterfully employs the imagery of Aya's sari to evoke the deep emotional and political tension permeating the narrative. The description of a texture, color, and a movement are laden with a symbolic meaning. Specific scenes that meticulously detail that saris fold, how they are draped, disturbed, or even torn highlight pivotal movements of uncertainty. Then another symbol is the Queen statue. The looming presence of Queen statue in the novel serves as a powerful, tangible symbol of British imperial authority. It stands as a constant reminder of colonial dominance, reflecting the era Lenny grows up in. However, the statue also silently heralds the impending shift. As the narrative progresses and the clamor for independence intensifies, the statue's eventual neglect, defamation, and mirrors the crumbling of the British Empire. This decline symbolizes not just the political end of the era, but also the rise of a new national identities and a reclamation of sovereignty by the people of India and Pakistan. It is a monument to a fading power awaiting its inevitable fall. So student, this was all about today's lecture. We have discussed the major theme of Cracking India, and beside this we deal with the major symbols that Sadhva used to portray the violence and the tragedy of partition. In the next lecture, we will discuss the post-colonial aspects of Cracking India, and also we will apply the feminist literary criticism on this text. Till then, stay blessed. Allah Hafiz. Thank you.